How do you think your journey so far has changed you?
I think I'm more open to different perspectives now and being respectful of where people are at. I've had to deal with a lot of confused looks and confused people when they hear how I'm living. Some people think it's awesome. Some people do not approve and think that I'm ruining my life. I think this whole process has made me more aware and also more tolerant of where other people are at. And I think I've experienced a period where I felt like I had to convince people why what I'm doing is the best way of life. But I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like it's the best way of life for me right now. And for other people, perhaps their way of life is the best for them. For some people, going into a 9 to 5 every day, having their lunch hour at the same time every day, and having the weekend to go play or recover, however you want to look at it, that works for them. And I respect that. So I think that's something that I'm just starting to feel, where it's like, okay, I'm awesome where I'm at, and I respect other people where they're at. They don't have to be like me. I don't have to be like them. And if people want to cast judgment on me because of how I'm living, or if they think what I'm doing is awesome, that doesn't matter to me if they love or hate me. All that matters is that I feel in alignment with where I'm at, and that's something that's newer. It gives me goosebumps. Like that is something that I was looking for. I don't want to call it self-discovery because it sounds cliche, or finding myself, that sounds cliche too, but I think really though, over the past few years, that's exactly what has happened. Not only do I feel confident in myself and feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I feel like now I'm able to meet people wherever they are without trying to educate them on my way of life. Like if they want to ask and have a conversation about it, sweet. But otherwise, like I'm no different than anybody else who's living in a normal place with a normal job. Also, my mindset. I would say that's the biggest thing that changed. And that kind of, the first point that I made kind of feeds into this topic. It's something I've been really aware of for several years now, particularly the past month or so. I've noticed a marked difference in myself, all based around mindset and being conscious of the feelings that I'm feeling and the thoughts that are a function of those feelings, and consciously putting myself into these feeling states in order to yield the desired results in my life. That's a change. Because before I left, I've been into meditation for a while and conscious thinking, like learning about that. I'm just starting to understand that it's not just about thoughts. Like that's part of it, but it's an incomplete story. Like you can say, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, and it doesn't make you happy, even if you're thinking it every day. Actually, the way that I'm finding that it works for me, and I think it works for everyone, but then back to the first point, I have to realize that everybody's different. But in my experience and what I'm noticing with other people and observing their language and then how they're describing their life to be right now in reality, is that the feeling comes first and then the thoughts follow the feeling. So when I meditate, I'm able to put myself into a feeling state of gratitude, or a feeling state of happiness, or a feeling state of having more than enough, have like abundance, or whatever feeling that I want. And then I'm noticing, by spending time focusing on the feeling that I want rather than the thing that I want or the thought that I think I should be feeling, like I am happy or whatever. It's like instead putting myself into a feeling state of happiness. And what does it feel like? What do I see? What do I smell? How do I feel? That is it's been a huge shift for me in terms of mindset. I think people think if I think happy thoughts, I'll create happiness, but actually it's the other way around. If I feel happiness, and it's not just meditation, it's meditation and then going out and doing the things that make you feel happy. Like you're not just doing it for show or because you want to check a box or something. Like you're just doing something because it makes you happy, like having a cup of coffee in the morning. It's such a small thing, but I feel happy when I have the coffee and when I like something warm to hold in the whole process, and that makes me feel happy. And because I feel happy, I'm able to think the positive thoughts. But for a while, I thought it was the other way around.
Is there anything else you have learned in general through the process and your journey to this point?
Yeah. So I have learned that no matter what happens, I am going to be okay. I am okay. No matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. If I die on LCAP, I'm going to be okay. Knock on wood. I don't want to die on LCAP. I'm just saying, like, I experienced a lot of fear when I first started climbing, like way more than what I experience now. Now it's joyful and happy. But there were times that I got really, really scared when I first started. I think the realization that, you know what, I might die out there one of these days. And that's fine. Like, I would much rather die doing something that I love than die of like a heart attack or something because I'm in a state of unhappiness and stress all the time. So like, I think embracing fear of death or like embracing the fact that someday I am going to die, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that I failed if I die. It just means that I'm on to the next chapter. That's my perspective anyways. So no matter what happens, I'm gonna be okay. I think before I left, my thought process was, am I gonna be okay? Or, well, what happens if this? What happens if this? This whole thought process where I'm like creating this if this, then that spider web of scenarios, 20 different outcomes to one thing, it takes up a lot of time and energy to think that way. And it creates a lot of undesired results. But I think a huge change in me has been shifting from, well, what if this? Well, what if this? I still have that ability to problem solve like that and to think through scenarios, but I'm more selective and conscious with what I'm going to entertain and aware that no matter what happens, I am going to be okay.
What advice would you give to someone watching this who would maybe, especially as a solo female traveler, who's thinking about taking a leap of faith into some kind of journey like yours or some lifestyle change?
Meditate on it. Think about it. Really, really get real with yourself, with your life and the decisions that you're making, and think about long term. And don't let fear stop you from doing what your heart is telling you to do. If you really feel in your heart that you want to do something like this and travel for a period of time or for a very long period of time, do it. I think I let fear stop me for a little while, but at the same time, I know I left at the right time. I mentioned that I tried quitting a month before I actually quit. It just wasn't time for me. For whatever reason, I had to leave when I had to leave. I think, though, if you've got a strong desire to go, and if you don't listen to that, I think it's going to get more and more difficult over time to actually go. I've had multiple people tell me that if they had done what I was doing when they were younger, which they had thought about, but they didn't do it, their life would have been different. And that, I have goosebumps again, that is so significant to me. And I think about it pretty often these days because my life is different now. because I made the decision to go. I'm not encouraging you to go or to not go, because you have to do, everyone has to do exactly what it is that their heart is telling them, and maybe it's just not time, so don't force anything. But if in your heart of hearts you know that you have to go, then do it.
How have you dealt with the loneliness that goes hand in hand with such a lifestyle?
I cry a lot. No, I'm just, well, I'm not kidding, actually. I used to cry a lot. I don't cry as much anymore because I'm starting to feel like I'm getting a handle on things and feeling like I know the direction that I'm going. But before, when everything was really unclear and like everything was changing so much and I couldn't see myself going back, but I didn't know the way forward either, it was really emotional. At first, it was more based on relationships, like crying over lost, or what I perceived to be lost relationships, or not feeling like I have a direction or something like that. I have cried a lot being by myself, but I feel like I've healed a lot because there were no people around me to like console or to say it's gonna be okay, or it's like that has forced me to look within myself and to get good with myself. And now when I'm alone, every once in a while a tear will come out or something. I'll have a thought or fear or something like that. Now I'm crying out of happiness mostly because life is really good right now, and I've made a conscious effort to create that for myself. But I think going through the stints of loneliness when I'm like out in the wilderness by myself, or even sometimes I feel like you can be in a group of people and feel lonely sometimes. But I feel like going through the process of actually being a hermit, more or less, especially for the first year or so that I was on the road, it's given me the space to work out a lot of my own inner, I don't want to call them demons, but for lack of a better term, I think being alone for long periods of time has helped me to deal with a lot of the baggage that I have had in the past. It's given me space to work it out. I've written a lot in my journals, I've cried a lot, and now I feel like I just enjoy being by myself because I've gotten good with myself. I enjoy my own company. And it's always been that way. I've never not enjoyed my own company. I've never hated myself or anything. But back to the mindset conversation and self-talk, I've made a conscious effort to direct my thoughts in a positive way and to have a positive perspective. And so I think with that decision has come a significant improvement in the way that I experience myself when I'm alone.